Welcome to Innovating Clinical Trials, the podcast designed for clinical research professionals eager to deepen their understanding of clinical trials through concise, insightful segments. Join your hosts, Liam Eves and Ted Trafford, as they uncover the core issues in clinical research, reflect on the industry, and challenge conventional wisdom.
Ted, hello, sir. How are we?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you, Liam?
I'm good. It's been a really good week so far. Very busy talking with some great people, which is always nice, and trying to solve some tough problems, which we love. How's your week been going?
I love that. Really, really well. Busy, lots of meetings, and it's so funny because you spend, so much time in meetings that you start to wonder, am I actually being productive in other things? And then you get, so often I'll try and block out time to say no meetings can be booked in this time segment because I've got to focus on certain issues and catch up on things. And it's an interesting balance.
It's a hard one, isn't it? I tend to try and get my deep work, as it's called, done in the morning, and then keep my meetings open for. But I think good meetings are wonderful. Bad meetings just make you question your life choices. So anyway, So what are we going to talk about today, sir?
So I was working over the weekend outside, and just for fun's sake, I dug out my bow and decided that I was gonna just practice a little bit. Have you ever shot an arrow?
I love it. It's one of my favorite things. Oh, absolutely love it. Really. I was trying to get one actually for our yard, but it's not quite big enough to shoot distance, and I probably will kill one of the dogs or something like that by accident. So
animals away before you get out. So it's funny. Like, I used to do it a lot in my youth, but haven't done it in a while. And so I dusted it off. Set up the target. Set myself up about 10 meters from the target, picked up the bow, and it is so funny. When I grabbed it, it was almost like I was instantly transported back to my youth. And, there's something to be said for doing something that you used to do a lot when you're young. And it's kind of like in the movies when the character touches the object and immediately has that flashback, that was me. And so I'm standing there with my bow and reached down and, picked up an arrow off the wet grass and knocked it to the bowstring. And so I drew back and settled in on my target and envisioned in my mind the flight path of the arrow. And so, being really careful not to jerk the string, I just simply let it go, and it leapt from the bow. The bow makes that really cool twang sound, and the arrow sailed through the air and completely missed the target. And so I, looked around, see if did anybody see what just happened, and picked up another arrow and hit the target the next time. And it all started coming back. And as I'm doing this, I'm just thinking about, the trajectory of the arrow and all the things that impact the ability to hit the target. And then, of course, as I always do, start thinking about clinical trials and how this relates to clinical trials. And so I thought, you know what, let's talk about the trajectory of a clinical trial and the things that can impact that in a negative way, and what kinds of things we might need to do in order to get that arrow flying straight to the target. And so that's where my mind went this past weekend. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring this up to Liam and see what his thoughts are.
that story was made so much better by missing the target in the first one. I thought you were going to tell me you were going to hit like bullseye straight away.
Oh yeah, right. Yes. No, that I changed my story. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. It's such, well, I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because like that, like you say, there's so many different variables to like consider when looking at delivering a trial. You know, certainly from a, speak whether it's from a site or a CRO perspective, but if we sort of like say from a site perspective, you start to like, there's so many things that are in and out of our control. And it's like, it's almost like the stoic philosophy you've got to have is like, okay, what are the things that I can't control but I have to be aware of, and then I have to be able to communicate those things. And then what are the few things that I can control, that I do have some control of, that I can actually do something about. And there's probably actually a third one, right? It's more like probably rings in your target, in which your center is, these are the things that are within my circle of control
This is
and
what competence. We're aiming for.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly. And then the second one is, these are the things that are outside my circle of like control, but I can perhaps influence them in some way.
Right.
Or, like maybe it's,
or this is how I'm going to handle them should they occur.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then the third one is, and the third one is just like, I don't have any control about this, but I need to be aware of it. Right. And I do wonder whether it'd be good to get your take on this, because I do wonder whether, just from a management perspective, is that I don't think we categorize some of these things that impact the trajectory and actually manage them as a result, or watch them and see what happens to report back on them. Like a good example of this was, I was working on a study in it was in a site, a massive commercial site that I used to run in London, and the Olympics were on, and we had not considered the Olympics' impact on things just like travel.
Right.
And it was like, people didn't want to go out.
Yep.
We knew that the Olympics were there. Now, in our sort of trajectory, we were going, okay, this might be good for us because there's more people in town, and therefore we may even get some like people from who are traveling that hear about us and want to get involved in the studies and so on and so forth. But it had the exact opposite impact on it. And I do wonder whether if we had that, like, and noted that as a possible impact, but one that we couldn't control, how would that have changed our trajectory and ultimately our management of that situation?
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, not that everybody has the Olympics constantly going on in their neighborhood like you guys did, but I think, another situation that I think something that sites can't control, that can have massive impact on the trajectory of a study, is the sponsor's selection of vendors for studies. And I think there's a lot of sponsors out there that aren't aware of how much impact a vendor, either for the positive or negative, can have on a study. And in some studies, to the point where sites just start to quietly quit because they're so frustrated with having to deal with that particular vendor. And what's the strategy to try and figure a path forward when things aren't working as well as they should.
Yeah. It's so true, because I think that like there's those, they're almost like silent killers, aren't they? That you as a sponsor, you need to almost be aware of these like categorizations of like the things that are silently going to kill your study. Like we were talking to a biotech company a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting. This conversation around like monitors came up, and they were really, and I've heard this a few times, they were really like listen, if whatever monitors come in, we want to make sure that these people can communicate well with the sites and have some sort of site background, because we want them to work with them. And the lady's, the CMO's story was essentially the last study that she had worked on, the monitors had effectively killed the relationships with a number of these sites, and then the sites just checked out. And it was like that. There's almost like those different categorizations where you say, okay, well, these are silent killers that we don't really think about, like, and how are we going to monitor and manage for that in the first instance?
Right.
And then, like, you know, then you've almost like got a few different categories, right? Where you can then say, okay, I always think of, like, what are the things that are going to kill you, and then prioritize those things in the different categories, and they'll all require different management skills. But it's such a highly complicated space.
Yeah. I love your example of the monitor, the CRA. I had something really cool recently where someone shared, one of my team shared with me an introductory email that the monitor sent the site. And the monitor who sent it basically sent this wonderful email that introduced themselves, said, "Hey, my name is so and so, and this is a little bit about me. I've been involved in clinical trials at the sponsor side for this amount of time, and previously was a study coordinator, and you know, I have 2 dogs and love spending time with them." And then went on to say, "My job is to support you as best I can. So if there's anything that I can do to help you throughout the study, please let me know." And I just thought, wow, that's the email that every site needs from their CRA, is to show that, hey, we're working collaboratively together. I am not the police that's here to tell you exactly what you have to do and when it is. I'm here to support you. And I thought, wow, we need more monitors like that.
It's so powerful, isn't it? Because it really is like, it's relationships, you know, and what's the adage that, you know, people don't leave jobs, they leave bosses, or their managers. And I think the same is true with, like, people don't check out of research because of the trial. Is the people that they're operating with, right? And there's not to say that, you know, studies are not difficult to deliver in other aspects, but I think that sort of sets the tone, doesn't it? To say, actually, I'm going to work hard for you because you're trying to do everything you possibly can for me and to help me. That's great. And what's that? That's you know, that's maybe a template email that, you know, that you can just you know, copy, adapt, and paste, and like, to spend a bit of time with people to, like, just build those relationships. It has massive impact on how you're going to deliver those trials.
It does. What a difference things like this make, and a lot of people might not be aware. You know, it's a simple act. Took 5 minutes to do, but could have massive impact on the whole study at that site. So and there's people that are coming up with some really good ideas on how to navigate and how to, like you say, build those relationships with the sites, because it's so critical to keep that study moving forward and on target. So,
no, definitely. I mean, for me, I think that there's effectively there's a few things, right? It's being in a position to understand what you are controlling, what is it within your influence, and what are the silent killers, if you will, that you don't have control of, but they could kill you. From a delivery perspective, I think trying to understand and grade them are really important. And then I think it's about, how do you manage each of those facets, or oversee at least the ones that are going to kill you, so you at least know that they're if something is off, you can do something about it, or you can alert whoever to do those things. Because it's such a great question, and such a complicated one as well. but
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
are always going to be the central part.
I have a short poem to wind things up
Love it.
for today's episode.
I love
So,
it.
in trials as in archery, the truth holds tight. Aim with intent and prepare for flight. So, though winds may shift and paths may bend, it's skill and foresight that guide the end. So ready your bow, steady your mind. A trial well launched leaves setbacks behind.
Ted, genius. I think with that, that's the pod.
Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. That was amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.